G'day guys, it's Jezza back here again. I find it easier to do videos rather than typing. So we just went to zone bowling. We booked in for 12 o'clock. My three kids were devastated. You can tell the people behind the counter had had enough. We didn't abuse them or anything like that. We're not allowed to go bowling with our kids. So that in itself is insane. So I've got a fairly important bit of information that I'm going to just let you know that I'm going to hand over tomorrow to the education department. Whether they accept it or not, that's up to them, and I'll keep trying to present it to them until they stop to get the masks off our kids. But that's one particular mandate, as you want to call it, that needs to be addressed first, and then the rest of them can go along with it once we get McGowan into jail, because that's where he's headed, the way things are going, and all the studies that I've got and I've looked up. I'm going to give you some stuff here now. I've got brain energy and oxygen metabolism, I can't even say the word, emerging role in normal function and disease. So we've got reputable doctors. We've got Paul E. Alexander, he studied at Ontario and various other locations. We've got a bit of a thing I'm going to hand over tomorrow from Dr. Margaret Brisson, MD, PhD, neurologist and neurophysiologist with a PhD in pharmacology. Special interest in neurotoxicology, environmental medicine, neuroregeneration and neuroplasticity. So I'd say she's fairly well versed in what she's about to say and what I'm going to read to you guys. So she just put in there, this is what she has to say about masks and their effects on our brains, especially kids. The rebreathing of our exhaled air will without a doubt create oxygen deficiency and a flooding of carbon dioxide. We know that the human brain is very sensitive to oxygen deprivation. There are nerve cells, for example, in the hippocampus that can't be longer than 3 minutes without oxygen. They cannot survive. The acute warning symptoms are headaches, drowsiness, dizziness, issues in concentration, slowing down of the reaction time, and reactions of the cognitive system. However, when you have chronic oxygen deprivation, all of these symptoms disappear because you get used to it, but your efficiency will remain impaired and the undersupply of oxygen to your brain continues to progress. We know that the neurodegenerative disease takes years to develop. If today you forget your phone number, the breakdown in your brain would have already started 20 to 30 years ago. While you're thinking that you have gotten used to wearing your mask and rebreathing your own exhaled air, the degenerative processes in your brain are getting amplified as your oxygen deprivation continues. The second problem is that the nerve cells in your brain are unable to divide themselves normally, so in case our governments will generously allow us to get rid of the mask and go back to breathing oxygen freely again in a few months, the lost nerve cells will no longer be regenerated. What is gone is gone. So, this study there's a bit more actually. To deprive a child's or adolescent's brain from oxygen or to restrict it in any way is not only dangerous to their health, it is absolutely criminal. All right? Oxygen deficiency inhibits the development of the brain, and the damage that has taken place as a result cannot be reversed. The child needs the brain to learn, and the brain needs oxygen to function. We don't need a clinical study for that. This is simple, indisputable physiology. Conscious and purposely induced oxygen deficiency is an absolute deliberate health hazard and an absolute medical contradiction. Now, this is the important part. An absolute medical contradiction in medicine means that this drug, this therapy, this method or measure should not be used. Remember that. Is not allowed to be used. Right? To coerce an entire population to use an absolute medical contradiction by force, there must be definite and serious reasons for this, and the reasons must be presented to competent interdisciplinary and independent bodies to be verified and authorised. When in 10 years, dementia is going to increase exponentially and the younger generations couldn't reach their God-given potential, it won't help to say we didn't need the masks, because we don't, and we all know we don't. How can a veterinarian, now this is quite important to read, get this through your brain. How can a veterinarian, a software distributor, a businessman, an electrical car manufacturer, and a physicist decide on matters regarding the health of the entire population? That's very important, because those guys are. We all have to wake up. I know how damaging oxygen deprivation for the brain is for the brain. Sorry, I'll start that again. I know how damaging oxygen deprivation is for the brain. Cardiologist knows it for the heart. The pulmonologist knows it for the lungs. Oxygen deprivation damages every single organ. Where are our health departments, our health insurance, our medical associations? It would have been their duty to be against the lockdown and to stop it from the very beginning. Why do the medical boards give punishment to doctors who give people exemptions? Does the person or the doctor seriously have to prove that oxygen deprivation harms people? Seriously? What kind of medicine are our doctors and medical associations representing? Who is responsible for this crime? The ones who want to enforce it, the ones who let it happen and play along, or the ones who don't prevent it? It's not about masks, it's not about viruses, it's certainly not about your health. It is about much, much more. I'm not participating and I'm not afraid. Give me the COVID spoon and I will lick it. We are not responsible for what we think. We are responsible for what we think, not the media. We are responsible for what we do, not our superiors. We're responsible for our health, not the World Health Organization. And we are responsible for what happens in our country, not the bloody government. Now, that's very well written. I've also got 30 to 40 pages here of various stuff from the Brownstone Institute that I'm going to hand over tomorrow. That's just on masks. We all know that the country of origin for this disease, they were wearing masks for a lot longer than the disease been around, and they have been spreading the disease with wearing the masks. We also know that after 20 minutes, once you saturate your mask, it's no good. But once you breathe moisture through your mask, then the droplets still get through. We all know that. That's a proven scientific fact. So who are these health experts? They're not putting their name up. I've got document after document after document from world-renowned scientists and all. We shouldn't even need to go there. We just look back to Chinese and the Japanese or whoever. They've been wearing masks for as long as I can remember, and they don't work because they still spread the virus. So, even though I'm still going to present this information to the Education Department tomorrow to get the masks off our kids, I urge you we're going to have to start a class action. I know there's many started, but mental health is the big issue. My kids were so upset, and the look on their face, I recorded it. And also, for you guys that are working in these industries that have to put up with people like, I'm not taking it out on you, and I urge everybody else not to take it out on them, because they are just doing their job. They're brainwashed, and they think that they're doing the right thing. You can't blame someone for doing something if they think it's right. Now, McGowan has evidence to the contrary. He's ignoring that evidence. So what he's doing is criminal. But I urge anyone that works, say, at Zone Bowling, where we just went then, take a mental health day. And you're allowed to, as your employer has to give you a mental health day, and you turn around and say, you know what, this is too much for me, because there's a lot of young kids working there, and you can see that they were visibly distressed, that they are returning people away left and right. And when we booked online, it didn't say anything about, not that I read it, I mean, maybe I was a bit blasé about booking online and didn't read it properly. That's my fault if it is on there, I'm sorry. So, but they are distressed. There's 16-year-old kids sitting there. Your employer is obligated to give you a stress day, and you say, if you are, I'm not encouraging you to take a false day off. If you're very stressed, which I said a lot of people are now, a lot of people are tired. I just went and bought groceries and spoke to one of the gentlemen there that works there. When I say gentleman, he was 16, 17-year-old kid. He's had enough. And I have a mask exemption, and he asked me for it. I said, look, mate, I don't think you're allowed to ask for it, but I'll go and get it anyway, just to let you know. And I spoke to him about it, and he had enough. And I said, look, I don't blame you. I said, you just want to come to work, be left alone. I'd love to just go to work. I can't even work in my own bloody butcher shop. So that's how ridiculous it is. Love you all. Keep up the good fight. We need to really, everybody get there tomorrow. This has got to stop sooner rather than later. McGowan's out of control, and we need to really encourage our wannabe politicians, not our career politicians, like the events. So tomorrow is all about getting the mask off our kids, because I'm not sending my kids back to school with a mask. Simple as that. It's going to damage their health in the long run. There's studies to prove it. Once they're at school, then we can concentrate on getting this guy in jail, because that's where he deserves to be. Make no mistake about it. Lawfully, of course, we've got evidence. We have to keep presenting that evidence. Flood me with evidence. I'm on boganmedia.com.au. We've started up so we can tell the truth. We've had a gutful of mainstream media lies. If they told me that that it was raining, I'd double check and go outside and check for myself, because I don't believe a word that they say. We've got some good guys on our side. We need to encourage those guys. And I'll see you all tomorrow. So sorry about the rant, but I'm pretty fired up after that, seeing my wife in tears because she wants to go home and get out of Western Australia. Unfortunate. Love to you all. See you tomorrow.